companies design jobs, whenever they are designing some type of jobs, what is in their mind? What are they trying to do? They are essentially trying to maximize from the time workers would have with them. So they want to ensure that whatever time workers are going to spend with them, the job is designed in such a way that they can maximize from their time. Uh, that is the essential thing which they have as a business entity, because they want to maximize from the payments they would be making to the employees. But there are other things also, of course. A good company would want to design jobs in a way that not that they just maximize from the time of the workers, but also make it a little bit more enjoyable for them. So when they are doing the task, they somehow enjoy. They somehow maybe learn. Uh, uh, Maybe they learn some new skill, reskill themselves, or even whatever skills they have, they get the opportunity to polish those skills. Maybe that is one thing which good companies would want to think about. Other concepts which you must have been looking at in other courses, for example, job enlargement, uh, those type of things which you look at in organizational behavior in terms of designing jobs. Maybe those are some things which you would want to think about as we start discussing this topic. Um, so those are some of the things which are coming to my mind. But please help me to start the discussion. That so the topic is job design. So simple question: what do you think when a company is designing a job? What are some of the things they should keep in mind? So I gave you a couple of pointers to start with. So first of all, companies are there to maximize from the time employees would be giving to the job. Want to make most of that time. That is one, maybe to begin with, and then maybe they want to make it a little bit more enjoyable for the workers. Maybe they want to ensure that they learn some new thing, or whatever existing skills they have, they learn them in a better way. Maybe that is one thing. But please go ahead, give us some pointers. What do you think? So again, when a company is designing jobs, what do you think? What should they keep in mind? Please go ahead.
Minimize as much as possible waste time. So you design the job in order to ensure that the core job is being realized. Stick to the target goal as much as possible so that you can have that desired result or output.
Okay, thanks for that, Kamla. So she's talking about uh, not wasting time. Essentially, if you think about the pointer we gave earlier in the discussion, that company is trying to maximize from the time a worker would have. So Kamla is giving that a nice terminology, time wastage, because that is the terminology you would see in the operations management book. Yeah, wastage of time. So of course there will be some time which would be wasted. People are not, when think about it, when you are on the job, are you, if you are there 8 hours, 7 hours, are you working all the time 7 hours, not wasting even a second? You can link it with the goal or target she's talking about. So whatever your job objective is, your target is for that day or for the week, throughout the time when you are at office or working from home, whatever required hours you have to put, are you putting all of that? So ask yourself that question. So maybe not, maybe you are not. Uh, Maybe you are there physically, but mentally you are doing many other things. Maybe you are doing mentally, you are thinking about home, friends, what you would do after work, all those type of things. Uh, and even if you are not doing all of those things and you are a good worker who goes to the job and wants to spend all the time, whatever is he's supposed to work on the job, doing the job. Still, mind is of such nature that it is hard to keep it focused for 7 8 hours continuously for regular people. Of course, some people can do that, but generally speaking, people are unable to do that. So, in that, uh, companies want to design jobs in such a way that time, less time is wastage, or no time. No, it's not possible that no time would be wasted. Well, it is. In some ways, it is. If you really design a job in such a way, for example, you know that for workers to work for 7 hours continuously might not be easy. So maybe you can break it down to two shifts, 3 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening, or something like that. But then that is not how job places work. Generally speaking, it is 8 to 5, something like that. Generally speaking, and people come there, work, and then they do other things. Uh, so think about that. Give Try to give some maybe some techniques, some ways in which less time can be wasted in doing the job, in designing the job. You can talk about that. But generally speaking, I'm just looking for some pointers which are coming in terms of job design. Think about your job, other jobs, and try to say something on simple question: what are some of the things a company should keep in mind when they are designing jobs? What are those things? For example, you can talk about interest of the worker. So you are designing the job. Who will be doing that job? A worker would be doing that job. Are they interested or not? If they are interested, they might be able to focus a little bit more than a person who is not necessarily interested in that job but doing it for some other reasons, maybe. So that is one thing. Motivation, for example, how much motivated the person is with the purpose of the organization. We always look at these things. Company a company company objective, vision, company mission, company vision. We are always Companies always are, trying to talk about those things. But how much a worker can relate with the vision, where the workers see themselves in the overall scheme of things. Maybe that is one thing which what you should consider. But anyways, I don't want to talk a lot. I want you to participate in this discussion and please give us some pointers. Again, simple question: what are some of the things a company should keep in?
Are learning other people, other employees' tasks. In the case where someone is not there, that person could cover for them until they return to work. Even where I work, it's just like I'm the only one that does the payroll. So if I don't come in, I don't know, workers basically don't get any pay. And they don't want me to undertrain anybody to do that part of the work. So I was thinking like under job sharing or something like that.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Very good point. Um, if one person is doing some job, there should be other people um, in the workforce that if something happens, the other people can take over the job. That is very important component of job design. Uh, as I was waiting for you guys, I just finished reading a case study. You guys can also download the case study uh, published in Harvard Business Review of this month, that talks about similar issues which our friend mentioned, that if there is some skill which is important, the example our friend gave, payroll, that is, of course, that is very important. People want to be paid on time, not very late. So if other people do not know how to do that job, although how simple it might be, but if you don't know, you don't know. Jobs are not about being simple or difficult. It is about, if you have the skill to do it, it is easy for you. If you do not have the skill, even a simple job can be very difficult for you. So going back to the pointer our friend made, very important, because in that case study which I just read, they are talking about a star employee who is very important for the company, and the person has certain skills, and the person gets some other job offers, and they want to, for some one reason or another, they want to go to that job. Now that talent, whatever talent that person has, uh, company has not done proper succession planning for the event. They have not designed the jobs in the way that there is someone else who is getting the training in case the top person leaves, who would come for to replace them or to take over, so at least the business continuity is there. If you remember, Kamla gave some examples of business continuity also in previous discussions. So you should be able to, in your own time, link it with the discussions which we have been having. So very good point. Design job in a way that there are other people whose core objective is not for a particular job. They should also be able to do that. The terms which you can use, for example, again it is linked with organizational behavior when you will do that course. For example, job rotation. Yeah, so you are rotating people uh, from job to job. Of course it should be something where people are interested in job rotation also, because think about it, if the person is not interested in the company, they are just doing it to pay the bills and whatever, and they are already struggling with the job objectives they have, uh, they won't be really interested in completing their existing job, forget about job rotation and added responsibilities and so on. So that is why one should be very careful about these concepts. Like, for example, I mentioned job enlargement. uh, Another one is job enrichment. You are essentially, these are fancy words, but essentially you are adding more responsibilities to the workers. Just like you guys mentioned, some of the examples I'm thinking about from the previous discussions, some of you mentioned because of this pandemic, uh, added responsibilities, and sometimes you are even to end up working more than you would have in normal circumstances, because when you are at work, you are at work, and when you are out of work, you want to do other things. So at least there is some type of divide. You can divide the work. But when you are working from home, it is kind of, you can get into continuously working, or working more hours regular than normal. Nothing is wrong in that. It is good, especially if you enjoy your job or you want to be more successful in job. But then they are talking about other things, for example, work life balance. You can link it with that. But again, please participate in the discussion. Please help us understand what are some of the things a company should
I
keep.
think Desmarie mentioned about ensuring the skill sets that's required, and Michelle spoke about reward systems for employees rather than or other than salary.
Okay. Thanks for that. But please, guys, try to turn on your mic and participate in the discussion. So some friends are talking about maybe reward structures. You want to see that whatever job they are doing, to make them interested in the job and learning. Sometimes I should not say sometimes, many times people are motivated, generally speaking, because they are not maybe passionate about their job, or or maybe they have so many other responsibilities that uh, life is a little bit challenging in terms of meeting financial obligations. So even if they are interested in the job, of still money is important. So whatever jobs they are doing, if they feel that it is more about perception, it is not about reality. So even someone who is paid well and the company thinks they are paid well, and their colleagues think that they are paid well, but their self perception is that the type amount of work they have to do, their payment is not meeting that. So then they might lose a little bit of interest, or they might not be working as hard as they would. So these are some challenges which HR uh, HR face all the time. Keeping people engaged, keeping people motivated for different reasons, and it it is not as easy as there are many books on this, that how to keep people you know interested, energized, all those type of things. Even if you want to talk about money, reward systems, good salary, but look around, like you have not you seen people in your workplace, generally speaking, even if not at your workplace, outside of your, generally speaking, workers, have not you seen people who are not paid very well, but they are really responsible people. They do their job on time, they try to do their best and do it a good job, all those type of things. Although their salary is not much, the reward is not much, but somehow they want to give their best for various reasons. Uh, and think about some people who you know that they are paid well and they have the reward system structures in place, but still you think that they are not maybe working as hard as they should. Uh, uh, those type of things maybe you would want to think about. So yes, uh, you would really want to think about this, because if this is true, then what it is that people who are not paid very well and still doing their job very well, or with a lot of focus, energy, dedication, what is it that keeps them going? What is the thing which keep them motivated, uh, even with less salary? uh, Maybe it's the satisfaction which is inbuilt in the design of the job. So maybe sometimes people like to have a personal link, or a personal relationship with the customer, in the sense of serving them. They maybe get some high when a good service is done, and the customer is says some nice words of being thankful, and so on. Maybe that is something which motivates them, so that keeps them going. And there are so many other things. People are strange. It is where it is although it is although there is a lot of literature in terms of understanding people, and they say that this is what will motivate them, but then it is not all five fingers are the same. People are motivated by different things. So if you want to go uh, if you want to think a little bit deeper, you can think about international businesses, where people coming from different cultures are there. uh, Coming from different culture can mean that there can be different motivations because of their upbringing. What motivates people from one culture might not motivate uh, people coming from another culture upbringing. um, so those type of things you can think about. You can also think about the uh, other things which our friends are, I think some of them are posting some texts, so you can read them and think about those also. uh, but yes, please give some more pointers. Job design, and also think about how hard it can be designing a job. How hard, how challenging it can be, because if you think about it, we have not really even started talking about it, but these initial pointers which we are getting, to keep all of them in mind and designing a job, how challenging it can be. And think about it, like, on the other hand, think about even the first session where we were talking about technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, all those type of things. And think about getting jobs automated. So if you get the jobs automated, then it might not these things which you are talking about, for example, reward, incentives, what would be the value of those? And what would be the value of job enrichment, job enlargement, and what would be the value of getting getting people, getting robots motivated, because they are not going to get tired. A lot of basic skill jobs uh, can easily be automated, especially in developing countries, like ours. If you think about, if you don't have a particular skill which is required from your job, if your daily routine is something which is like very very basic and not a high level skill you have acquired or is being used in your job, then chances are that it can be very easily automated. And maybe this pandemic which we are going through, this is going to maybe unmask all the things which people were, masking earlier, because now people are working from home and this is a different ball game. um, so they can get exposed also in some ways, because of their ability to do the jobs on their own, if you can think on those lines. Of course people are going to make, they have this idea of making excuses also, that oh, this is pandemic and this is happening. But think about it, if companies started to continue some of the jobs, uh, allow some of the jobs, allow some of the workers to work from home, what would happen? Yes, please go ahead. Give us some pointers. So job design, what are some of the things? Um,
Physical characteristics of the workforce, well, mental and physical characteristics, because you have some jobs that are quite stressful, and you have to, in designing the job, that has to be clearly stated so that your employers know exactly what is expected of them and how they're expected to really work or function under those circumstances.
Excellent, excellent point. Just this morning, I was reading this article published in Forbes, how future of work will change, and one of the pointers they mentioned was mental health, mental well-being, which Kamala is talking about. And in that article, they were saying that the importance of mental health being, and the stress and all these things which Kamala mentioned. So the importance of giving people some type of mental care, uh, that is going to increase in the future of work, because now, for example, because of pandemic, people would definitely require some type of support to remain sane in these times. And this would, the people who wrote the article, they are trying to say that this would end up as a good practice, because if you do this type of thing, taking care of people, uh, uh, it might have a good impact on their job. They might be able to do the job in a better way, and companies would see that uh, sooner than later. And maybe it is a possibility, just like we spoke in office design session, that many companies might say that okay, you can continue working from home for some days, uh, or something like that, based on the skills they have, based on the type of jobs. Similarly, companies might continue giving some type of help, some type of consulting, some type of services where mental well-being of workers are also considered. This is an interesting idea. Um, can think about that. Yes, please go ahead. So simple question is, what are some of the things a company should keep in mind when designing jobs? So you guys have made interesting pointers. For example, succession planning. You guys mentioned job rotation. You are talking about mental well-being. You are talking about linking it with the goal or target of the company. We all and other pointers. I have also mentioned couple of them. We spoke about technology, automation. But please go ahead. Talk a little bit more. Uh, so again, simple question. What are some of the things a company should keep in mind when they are designing a job?
That require you to, it takes a toll on your psyche, so to speak, because of the environment in which you have to work sometimes. So they in designing that job, they have to put measures in place where that particular person will be able to get some kind of help or assistance, maybe counseling or so, because because of the impact that the job will have on them. So designing a job, it depends on what is required. Also, I think when designing a job, it shouldn't just be a job offhand, but it should be in line with the strategic objectives of the organization. You know, in some organizations, there are some jobs that you're doing it, but you don't see where it is contributing to the whole organization itself. So each job should be designed in such a way where the person gets a sense and feeling of contributing to the organization achieving its overall objectives.
Excellent points, and thanks very much for both of these points. Both are very relevant, and we see this all the time. uh, in many companies we see that they are doing some jobs, they are writing some reports, they are conducting some whatever business they have to, and they have been doing it for a good amount of time, but nothing is happening with those reports. Nothing, it is not going anywhere further. Yes, they look nice, the people seem occupied with the job, but it is not linked, as our friend was explaining, with the strategic direction, layoff in those type of jobs. Uh, so people are there for various reasons, because of sometimes political affiliations, sometimes for other reasons. Generally speaking, I'm talking about developing countries. So in that sense, it can be very challenging to really design jobs in a way which would help the company to meet their strategic objectives, whatever they are. It can be very hard, and it can be also the case that they may want to design jobs, but though to work effectively or efficiently, as you guys mentioned those terms, so I'm trying to link it with some example. So to work efficiently, you might want to give some skills, some training to your workers. Maybe you have the money to give them training, but are those people ready for that type of training, or they want the job to be done in the same old-fashioned? A lot of challenges can happen in designing jobs. So very good examples about what is required. So think about what is required when designing the job, and think about how to make it meet the strategic objective of the company. These are 2 points our friend mentioned. Any other point which is coming to your mind? Job design, what are some of the things a company should keep in mind? Give me one more, and then I would want to say some of them.
So I think the
Yes,
other
please.
point could be the geographic location of the job, and even looking at the location of the workforce plays a very important it's a very important aspect in job design.
Very good, very good. And if you guys remember, we just finished location in our last session. What is the location? So Our friend is linking with that. So your location, even when you are doing the job in the premises or you are working from home, what is your location? What is the environment like? That is very important. And some of the friends mentioned, like some companies are thinking to give or are already started giving some type of allowance to work from home. Maybe set up a desk or whatever. So those type of things can, they are thinking that giving them some allowance might help them to create a workspace for themselves and so on. But think about it. If you are given uh, an allowance to upgrade your environment, your location, if you are working from home, are you going to really spend that money on doing that? Uh, so the allowance is working from home, so it should be spent on making your environment more workable, something like that, getting lights, getting uh, tables or whatever, that environment, creating that environment, maybe building a little extra structure for work, something like that. But think about it, how many people are going to use that allowance on this thing? They might want to just spend it on other things which are more important for their life, and they say, okay, we can work from our sitting on our couch or even in our bed, we can do that. So the company is giving them the allowance to make a good location and make a good environment in terms of their house where they will locate themselves to do the job. But people might not want to use it. So that is interesting point to think about. So please think about these things. Very important. I want to show you some couple of stories which I have been reading this morning. So look at this. So we are talking about job design. So this is from CNN, 29th of April. Boeing, a very big company, will cut 16,000 jobs after posting a massive loss. So company Boeing, massive loss. What are they going to do? They are going to cut jobs. How many jobs? 16,000 jobs. Can you imagine the impact it will have? How many people? Even if every household has, on average, have like 3 or 4 people, you can just multiply 3 or 4, or even 2 with the 16,000. You have like 32,000. And then the people who are linked with these people, uh, the big, so jobs. So this is what is happening to jobs, generally speaking, jobs. So in these times when this is happening, 16,000 and so on. And there are so many other stories. I'm sure you are familiar with them. If you are not, just run a Google search. You will find out. Layoffs are more and more layoffs. So in these times, how to design jobs, how to stay relevant becomes even more challenging for businesses. So the pointers you guys mentioned and the pointers which are coming in your mind for the question that how a company, how a business should design jobs. You have highlighted some of the issues which a company can face, and they are already too many. So to add to those issues, think about this. Companies like Boeing, massive loss, layoffs, now the pressure on the people who are still employed. Because think about it, the people who are laid off, they are laid off, so they are gone. But the people who are still working with Boeing, there is a sword on their head. Uh, Many of them would be thinking, oh, maybe I'm next. Maybe, this would happen. So if people are generally in that sentiment, how well they will be able to work. No matter how well their job is designed, no matter how good the location is, or no matter how, other things are which we have been talking about. Fear is something which is going to compromise their ability to do a good job. uh, anxiety, depression, and link it back to the mental well-being. Uh, Even a good mind can get a little bit, shaky if they are not sure what would happen to their job, and if they don't have multiple incomes coming and they are heavily dependent on one job. It can create a lot of trouble for people, especially if they have, like, if they have family obligations, they have, other things. Can be very challenging. So think about, reflect on this, and make some notes, so you can maybe participate in discussion. So this is one thing which I wanted to show you. This is another one. Forbes, coronavirus is threatening the entire restaurant supply chain. Yeah, coronavirus is threatening the entire restaurant supply chain. And we know that restaurants are something, restaurants, movie theaters, these type of places where, people would go in a good quantity, and in bulk people would go, because of the restrictions imposed. It's very challenging for them. So think about it, what would happen to jobs, these jobs. So people who are working in restaurant industry, if they are not top end chefs, these people who serve food, and security people, and the people who greet us when we enter a restaurant or hotel, they were already not paid very well. Yes, some people can say that, they are not only dependent on the salary which they will get from the restaurant or hotel, because they get, if they serve well, which they try to, because then only then they will get good tips. So they depend on that. But we can say that these are not affluent people in any way. They are not, how much savings they would have, how much time they can afford to, stay out of even these type of jobs which a restaurant industry can give us. Think about, you can link it with our own country, BPO. Although BPO, we have been saying, especially if you have done international business management with me, personally speaking, I am not very fond of creating job opportunities through initiatives like BPO. But yes, many people think that that is good. So different point of views are there. But think about it. Nowadays, BPO industry in our country, there's some lockdown for them because of the recent incident with the coronavirus. So people who are working, uh, many times they are student loans, all those type of things. They have obligations. So what would happen to their job, and how would the future of job design in BPO, how would be the future of job design in restaurants, uh, would be like. Need to think about that, in this aspect. uh, and if the figure for Boeing was less for you guys, we have this story, CNBC. So job losses could hit 47 million. Yeah. So if Boeing figure was less, and even if this figure is less, I'm sure we can even find reports which are giving more figure. And it is not surprising at all if you know how many people are in the world, and how many people live in developing countries and sub-Saharan African region. And if you take out the population of uh, developed areas in developed countries, this this figure is small, very small. And think about these people. Majority of the people in the world, they are living under were living under $2 USA per day. Majority of the people in the world. You can look at the United Nations report, Sustainable Development reports, and you will find out the figures, exact figures. Uh, but that was before coronavirus. So now think about the, disruption, all these things, future of job design. Many jobs will go out anyways. Uh, it would happen differently in different countries. So it depends on what type of country it is, what are the jobs in those countries. So not every country will be affected in the same way. But what I'm trying to say is, before coronavirus, majority of the world population was living under less than $2. So how much saving they would have to sustain in these times? So yes, they were making maybe $2 every day. Now they are not making that. So how that would impact their jobs going forward when job design is going to change? Companies are going to learn more efficient and effective, as you guys mentioned these terms, ways to get their jobs done. And in doing that, over a period of time, they would want to pay less because you are working from home. We had this little discussion on this in earlier sessions also, so you can listen to that if you want. So at the end of the day, it will be very challenging for a lot of people uh, after we start recovering from pandemic, and companies redesign their job. In redesigning, they might bring in some type of automation for some jobs, and as they bring in automation, only people would have some real skills. They would be The jobs would be designed for those people, human beings. If someone is going to hire a human being, their job of a human being would require some type of real skill. But nothing to really worry about. This is just maybe just a wake up call for all of us, me and you, to maybe learn some skills which will stay relevant going forward. So if we have the skills, then I don't think there is uh, there is any problem, because again, again, you can read, you should read these magazines. So for example, just this morning I read this story in HBR, uh, and they were saying that when companies says that they do not have budget, they do have budget for some type of tasks which uh, would give them competitive advantage and sustainability. And so what they were saying, when companies say they have no budget, they do have budget. And when companies say that we are not hiring, they are hiring for certain skills. So all companies are always hiring. If you have the skill which they are looking for, then of course they are hiring. Yes, Edward, you want to say something? Please go ahead. Your mic is on.
Hi, are you hearing me now? You hearing me?
Yes. When you speak, we hear you.
Regarding to the corona, the pandemic, I mean, it over the news it has been said that for how long now this is the world, the first global recession in the world for somewhat 40 years now because of this pandemic. I mean, yes, some jobs will be lost, because like for example for Jamaica, that we solely depend on tourism sector and we're solely depend on the tourism sector, and no revenues coming to Jamaica regarding to the tourism sector, because the tourism sector is the sector that bring majority of the foreign revenue and such. But that sector is hit that some of the hotel workers, they don't have any work or anything, and they don't really know what to do because maybe they just have one skill to depend on. So what's your feedback regarding to that?
Excellent point, Edwards, and thanks very much for reminding us. This is absolutely true challenge for. I was generally speaking internationally underdeveloped countries, but you are bringing specifically our beautiful country in the conversation, and thanks for that. And the challenge is tourism, heavy dependence on tourism, and a lot of people have lost their job and a lot of people will lose their job, and they might not be get you might not be able to get the employment back anytime soon. As in one of the sessions, we raised this question: how much time you think that it will take for tourism industry to revive back in Jamaica. So it was consensus of the participant in that discussion that it can easily take at least 2 to 3 years. It might happen a little earlier, and we would be happy if it happens even tomorrow. If it happens, we would be very happy. But generally speaking, it feels like it can take 2 to 3 years at least. So in that, uh, this is really challenging time for all those people who are in tourism, especially low unskilled type of, who don't have really great skills in their job. So uh, in this regard, as our friend is saying, it might be the case where they cannot find another job replacement, but they do have some skills. That is why they were doing some type of jobs. So it is maybe, it is maybe something which government should think about, that all these people who are who are who got laid off in hotel industry and other industries, what are the skills which are required in Jamaica, or to develop Jamaica? What are some of the skills which would be required, let's say, in next 3 to 5 years? What are those skills? Because if you think about it, even this degree which we are doing, undergrad in business management, think about it. What skills, generally speaking, you're not talking about one course. Generally speaking, if you look back on all the courses which you have done, what real skills are there which you got, which are going to make you, easily employed in the future? Maybe there are some skills, but generally speaking, not many skills. So as Edward is trying to uh, ask me what I think, personally speaking, I think, and you guys can give your opinion on this also. Maybe one thing is that all these people which are laid off, government should think what are some of the skills which would be required from the economy, in the economy in next 3 to 5 years. What is the future direction country wants to take, what is their strategic goals, and so on. And they have published some reports, this, for example, this vision 2030. That is something, if this is a good time to work on that, if you ask me, because now is the time. A lot of people are don't have job. A lot of people already did not had job before coronavirus. Now that pool has gone up. So why don't we teach some skills to these people who are unemployed, and put money in this? You don't have to necessarily charge them. You just want to equip them with some skills. And then, some people might say, oh yes, we don't charge them, and they learn some skill, and they will go away. It will be brain drain. They will go to US, Canada. No problem. If they are, the way I look at it, and of course I'm not inserting my opinion on you guys have your own opinion, but I'm saying, if they are going away, no problem, let them go away. They will make Jamaica proud in other countries, and of course they will send remittances over here. They all, not everyone is going to go. Some family members are going to be here. Somehow Jamaica would benefit uh, in the long run. And even if they don't send a lot of money, but they do send a lot of money, but let's say that does not happen, whole family goes. This thing would make Jamaican businesses more competitive, maybe, because now they would be fighting for keeping the skilled people in the country. This type of environment would force maybe government of Jamaica to do something, some real thing where crime can be reduced, so people can come back to their country, and so on. And there are so many opportunities in Jamaica, business wise and otherwise. So that is where what I'm thinking, based on what Edward is saying. So people laid off, no problem. See what is the future of jobs in Jamaica, what would be the job design, to fulfill that job design, what skills would be required. All these people, especially youth, uh, uh, not saying that older people are not worthy, but youth, because they have the tendency, when they are not going to find something, they are vulnerable in the society. If they are coming from uh, underprivileged areas and they did not go to maybe school so often, and they don't have any skill, the chances for them to start doing bad activities or crime, that is very high. So bring them, give them some skill set which would be required in the businesses going forward, teach them those skills in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years. So next 3 to 5 years, they have those skill set and they can get some type of employment. Yes, not everyone is going to stay. Yes, even after getting the skill, not everyone is going to work. Some people are just lazy. Some people will go to other countries. Yes, those challenges would be there, but uh, that is that is a good investment. Uh, Maybe, of course, there are some loopholes which in the things which I have mentioned, because this is just a rough idea. So intelligent people, intellectual people, policy makers, uh, government people who have more information on this, because some data is required to inform this strategy, they can do something on that. Uh, and country will definitely benefit in the long run. But you guys tell me, what do you guys think? What is the, Edward mentioned a good problem, job design, uh, tourism sector, laid off people. So I gave you my 2 cents, but you guys need to tell what you want to say. Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, as it relates to the tourism industry and training, earlier last month in April, the industry had organized a training session for the workers. I think it's a 6 week or 8 week, 8 week program. So of course they are already on en route of training those that sector for when they're ready to start again.
Yes, very good point. So companies are already starting to do that, because you can't just lay off the people, because you would need those people again. So maybe give them some skills, maybe some other thing they can do, and so on. So that is something which can be done. So please think about that. If someone else want to say something, please go ahead.
Yeah, Tashrin, in addition to that, I know that Harvard has some Harvard has released some free courses online as well for the sector. Amongst, so there's Harvard, and there is also one through the ministry for management. What's the school? Florida Atlantic University as well has some. So there's a list of them that are actually offering, like for Florida Atlantic University, they're offering a certificate in hospitality and tourism management for free, all online. And this is in light of the whole COVID-19 situation, and it's all through the JCTI, which is the training leg of the tourism ministry.
Thanks for this point, and good to hear your voice, O'Shane, after a long time. Very good point. And if you look around, he's absolutely right. Not just Harvard University, a lot of Ivy League schools, top universities, they have made many courses online free of cost. That is one thing. Number two, a lot of journal publication, a lot of academic journals which were not available before, without paying them some cost, they have made their all the information they have made it available online, free of cost. So companies are doing these things. So this is time to take benefit of that. So let me ask you guys, as O'Shane is telling us that these top universities have done that, do we plan to maybe enroll in 1 or 2 courses and take advantage of this situation? If we don't want to get enrolled, no problem, we don't have to, but we definitely need to spread this word out, because a lot of people would not know this. uh, uh, Especially again, all age groups can do these type of courses, but younger people, if we have siblings, brother, sister, whoever, younger people or friends, family friends, encourage them to do some type of courses. And the good thing is that it is, generally speaking, they are pass or fail type of courses. So you don't have that pressure of gaining a grade and something like that. And then after doing the course, if you want some certificate or something, there is always a minimum, minimal fee, very less fee. But then again, it is up to us what we consider less. When I say less, I mean to get a degree or certification from those type of universities which O'Shane is mentioning, they are very expensive. But now because of this pandemic, they have made the lessons free, lecture free. But then I'm thinking that there might be a little fee, maybe $100, $200, something like that, to get the badge, to get the certificate that you participated in the course. And maybe they would give you a little exam, because you paid, and you take that exam, which is, generally speaking, not hard. uh, uh, Generally speaking, if you have taken the course properly, you would be able to will be able to at least pass the course. And then you will get that certification, and you can include it on your resume. Many people have, some reservations about online learning and all these type of things. But based on my readings, that is thing of past. Future is all about online education. This thing which we are doing right now, University of West Indies should have done it long time ago, if you ask me. Yes, we have open campus and we have online learning, and these courses which we do, you guys might want to meet in person and so on and so forth, and I appreciate it. I also love it to engage in person, so I can see you and talk with you and all that type of thing. That type of relationship which can be built in person cannot be built in an online environment. It is a little bit challenging in that. But this is the future. This is how it would be. So I'm not saying taking 100% online. What I'm saying, that keep some sessions online, and of course once a month or once every 3 weeks, we arrange a in-person session, and in that we can you know have in-person interaction. So a combination of online and face-to-face learning, that University of West Indies and other universities should think about that. It would make it easy for you guys. It would bring the cost, and they should also lower the cost of the degree in doing that, because that should be the target. Lower the cost for the consumer. It would make UV more competitive also in uh, in uh, in in a lot of ways. Because think about it, once universities start going online, then the market is huge for you guys. Then you don't necessarily have to do your masters from University of West Indies or University of uh, Technology or Caribbean University or something like that. Then you can do, as O'Shane is saying, you can do your degree from any other university across the globe. So think about those things, please, especially in the context of job job design. Yes, Christina, you are saying something. Okay, maybe Christina was just doing some exercise of raising her hand. No problem. So let's look at some of the other stories which I was looking at. So if you guys remember, we spoke about design in one of the earlier sessions. You can look at this World Economic Forum. They have made this interesting read, 10 ways COVID-19 could change office design. We have looked at all of these things in that session when we were talking about design. But let's see if we can find something. Fresh air, co-working, we were talking about these things, if you guys remember. But would like to talk about this point number 10, emptier. Let's say what this is talking about. Please look at this, the highlighted section. Will there actually be any offices? The World Economic Forum is asking us this question. We are talking about job designs, so please keep job design in mind. They are asking, will there actually be any offices? Will the world's legions of new home workers want to return to their workplaces? Will employees want them back? This is very interesting question to reflect on. Will employers want them back? And we're not talking about just Jamaica. Please remember that. We are talking international. Yeah. And when remote working could save them money. So it is all about money. So if that is the case where remote working could save them money, returning to their workplace, what are the odds? Will employees want them back? Interesting questions this is this is raising. So you can scan the article in detail. Yeah. Good design should be inclusive and accessible. Yeah. Inclusive, accessible. So I like this one because when we are designing jobs, should keep this in mind: inclusiveness and accessibility. And please link it with previous discussion we have been having in the semester. What we mean by that.
Are these articles on your page?
You would have to search for them. You can do that.
Okay.
Just run a Google search. You will be able to find them.
Okay.
And look at this one. Robots won't steal our jobs if we put workers at center of AI revolution. So we have been talking about automation since our first session, automation, artificial intelligence, and so on. So this story, very interesting story. They are saying that robots won't steal our jobs if we put workers at the center of AI revolution, at the center. How to put them in the center? By giving them the skills, right skills, so they can complement. So essentially speaking, uh, my train of thought is, and you can have your own opinion on this, my thing is that it is not that we will go 100% robot, and it is not go that it will be 100% human workers. It should be the case where we can mix and match. So the jobs which AI, robots, the jobs which can be done better in that using those technologies, they should be automated. And then there are some jobs where human interaction would be better. For example, this type of job, if we are going to discuss something, yes, of course, AI can also discuss very well in a very structured way. Uh, but still, the creativity part of human beings, AI has not fully replicated that. It will eventually, uh, maybe, hopefully, it will. But creativity, discussion-based forums, maybe this is something which maybe human beings can do if they are prepared to do that. So this is what was in my mind when I was saying things about these people who are laid off in tourism and other things. Government of any developing countries, not just Jamaica, any developing countries, they should look at their their objective, where they want to reach in terms of jobs, what jobs would be, what skills would be more required in next 3 to 5 years, and try to give some free courses uh, to uh, to their people, their youth, their unemployed people, even employed people. They should learn those skills. So when the time comes, we have those skills. That is very important. Otherwise, time is just going to come. Uh, if we prepare or if we don't prepare, that time is going to come. So it would be better, and this is an opportunity for all the developing countries. This pandemic is an opportunity to reflect what skills would be required in the future, 3 to 5 years, 6 years, and all these people who are laid off, give them that training, try to teach them the skills. Of course, a lot of work is required in this. You have to see uh, who is interested in what learning, what type of skills. So aptitude, you would have to look at that also. And as O'Shane reminded us that a lot of top universities, they are offering courses. So one thing is coming in my mind, that the country does not have to offer courses or prepare courses. The country just need to find out these free resources and put them on some page or something like that, and uh, distribute and tell people, okay, if you are interested in this, you can do these courses. If you are interested in this, you can do these courses. And all those things should be linked with the skills which would be required in coming years. It is not very difficult. It will take some time to do that. Maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. You can create a nice website, and just government can just release it. That okay, this is what is out there. Use it. Yeah. So you can think about that. Chapter you are going to read in your own time. I just wanted to have a little discussion on job designs. Um, some things I might want to maybe talk about. For example, scheduling. What would be the scheduling of workforce? Uh, how many people you would require in a certain time to complete the job? Those are some things which uh, a company would want to think about when they are designing the job workforce. Again, the skills. Do people have skills to complete that job? That is a big part of job design. uh, Work rules, ethics, needless to say that those things are important. We spoke about motivation, incentive, expansion, environment. You should think about those, especially ethics. That can be very important. Some case studies are posted on in your book. You can read them, but they are old case studies. I think you should search for the case study published in Harvard Business Review, the latest issue, uh, because I referred to that in the discussion also, and it is linked with succession planning and job design, and those pointers which one of our friends mentioned. So again, not for exam purposes. This is just for your own understanding of what it is. Can look at this. They are talking about human resource strategy in job design. The objective of human resource strategy is to manage labor and design jobs so people are effectively and efficiently used. So manage labor and design jobs. This example which I gave you for the country to come up with a website where they tell us what are the skills which will be required in next 3 to 5 years, and give us some training free of cost, no problem. Even if taxpayers money is being used in that, I don't see there is any disadvantage. This is a good resource, and make it public and make it public to uh, all the people, and then let them decide what they want to do. uh, and then for some people you can recruit them. uh, for some people, based on your capacity of the government, how many people who can come and do the workshops with them in person, that can be limited. Only take those people who are really enthusiastic and interested, and they have demonstrated that they have good ethics for work and they seem serious. Have those people 1,000, 2,000 people, and frequently bring them in the workshop, and over a period of time you can increase that number from 1,000 to 2,000 and so on. uh, so what I would say that start with small numbers and then see how it goes. And of course there is a learning curve in any new thing. So you learn over a period of time. And one friend has mentioned some companies are already doing that. She mentioned a 6 to 8 weeks workshop. That is very good start. Very good start. Some constraints they are looking at. All these things you are going to look at in your own time. uh, Link it with previous class discussions we have been having. You can listen to one of those, especially the one in terms of design. We did it a week or 2 weeks ago. These are, for example, some things: flexi work, flexible work week, part time. So think about these things. These were already there, but companies did not do those things, and they did not prepare their workforce to work from home and so on. And then pandemic comes, and then everyone has to work from home, and there is a learning curve, and they are learning in these times. So a company who has already done these things when things were fine, flexi time, flexible work week, work from home, all those type of things. In these times when the pandemic comes, it is a easy sale. Then you won't have to wait one for 1 month or 1 week to restart courses. You won't have to do that if you are doing that. This is something which you would want to think about. Uh, these are some terminologies. Uh, Psychological, you can link it with the mental well-being. We spoke about job expansion, we spoke about that, job specialization, motivation, incentives. They have tried to explain in the slides, but I would say that read the book chapter or listen to some YouTube clips of some professor on this, how they view that, and also try to have some sense, because we are going through pandemic. So try to understand what would be the job design of your job going forward. Uh, how your job would be designed in the future, or it can be designed, uh, what can happen, and develop some skills so you are relevant in the event that your job design changes post pandemic, because it is going to change. Even if it might not change right away, but in the long haul it is going to have some change. So think about this job rotation. One of the friends mentioned that, where she gave example, that was very good example about payroll. She mentioned that she's the only one who has to do the payrolls. Other people don't have that skill. So if she is not there, then it can be a challenge. So job rotation, very very important. Employee empowerment. But again, let me repeat that you have to see the the worker, the employee. If they are interested in job rotation, only then it will work. If they are interested in job enrichment, they have that desire, only then it will work. Otherwise you are going to make the person very unhappy. uh, so think about that. Yeah, autonomy, feedback so they can improve, skill variety. You need to think about these things in your own time. I'm not going to spend our valuable time in discussing these things. uh, of course, with everything we have been talking about, there are going to be some limitations, so you have to think in your own context. So no matter how you design a job, or who designs the job, which company is designing the job, for every job design there are some limitation. No job design is like 100%. That is why innovation is important. That is why learning on the curve is important. That is why companies keep on improving their jobs. For example, you can think about the job design at Amazon. There are fascinating clips on YouTube, like they are managing full floor with robots, only one person managing that, a young person, undergrad, just coming out of university. I watched that clip some time ago. But you can find your own clips which fascinates you in the industry, which fascinates you. So that is totally changed the job design. So you just have to manage those robots, and no human being, full floor. Yeah. So these are not something which are happening, which will happen in the future. They are happening, right? They have already happened for many companies. Yeah, you guys mentioned incentives, bonuses. uh, yes, they are important. You can think about that. Ergonomics, this is one terminology which came up when we were meeting face to face, and we had a discussion on that. Please reflect on that. uh, how much light is there, how much noise, temperature, humidity, overall environment of the work. That is what ergonomics is. So this becomes even more important now when we are working from home. As Kamla mentioned, that job design, yes, it is important, but another thing which is very important is that what would be the location of the work, how often you would be interrupted in that work environment, and so on. Uh, because it can be challenged. You are working from home, like Uh, if they are older people, they might understand that you are working, but think about it, if there are children at home, they would want to come to mommy and daddy all the time, because they are thinking that everything is closed, and why what you are doing on laptop, and they want to play and whatever they want to do. So it can be very challenging. So all that is part of ergonomics, noise and so on. You can think about that. uh, these type of diagrams can help you understand job design. For example, this is a flow diagram, essentially speaking, how one job is, how one job flows in terms of step 1, step 2, step 3, on in any circumstance. So they have given some example. So as job designer, you might want to look at these type of diagrams, and then you can say, okay, step 1, whatever step 1 is, maybe you need to do something before that, or step 3, that is not useful, you can take it out. That is what job designer would do. In doing this, I'm forgetting one important thing which is just coming to my mind. Please make note of that. As you design the job, I think it is very important that the person who is designing the job, they they understand the job. They have done that job themselves, they have some experience of that. I think that is very important. Otherwise, an outsider, he might design the job in a way which might not be very implementable, because nothing beats experience. If you have experience of the job and then you design the job, you will be able to design it in a better way. So maybe that is one thing which you want to think about. These type of diagrams, you can look them up. Just Google search process charts, and see what comes up, what type of diagrams come up, and then narrow down your research in the activities which you do at work, or in the industry where you are interested in. So these are just like, how much time it would take to complete one job. In the first column here, if you can see, they have distance in feet. So from step 1 to step 2, what is the distance it would take, and so on. Try to reflect on the sessions we had face to face, when we were talking about these fast foods, uh, uh, and how job is done in those fast foods. You guys gave a lot of interesting examples. For example, I remember where the sink would be, where you would come and wash your hands, and so on. So you guys were giving interesting examples for that. So try to reflect on that discussion. That is very relevant for this thing. Uh, some terminologies, visual workplace. Try to get a hang of that in your own time, please. This is the example of visual workplace. So we all have these things. Uh, for example, the microwave, when it gives you the timer and it tells you how much time is left for the job to finish. Someone thought about it when they were designing that job to microwave. They gave you a timer which runs backward, so giving you the time, like, okay, how much time is left. So that is part of job design. Yeah, these utensils, and you can think about this visual. uh, Visual workplace, you can read it in your own time, but let me think of some example where we can relate in the current time. For example, in this pandemic, if you go out, you might have seen some, stop, some red tape on the floor, and it says stop here, don't go forward, or keep distance, or some reminders like that, uh, with some bright colors, or colors which are easily readable, and so on. So what is that? That is visual workplace, trying to keep the distance using some colors. Of course, when you are designing the jobs, you have to keep in mind the laws, regulations, ethics in the country. That is very important. Also, you would want to keep in mind the culture of the workplace when you are designing the job, because it is not just being efficient and effective. Yes, that is very important in designing the job, but in if you design a job which is not in line with the culture of the organization, it might backfire and you might have to pay a lot of uh, might have to pay a heavy price for that, in terms of employees losing their morale and motivation and so on. So you have to design the job, so but maybe in the step by step format, uh, every step giving people some skills, every step taking their feedback, how they are coping. uh, all that is very important if you want, if you are there for if your organization is there for a long run. In the short run, yes, anything works, but in the long run, where you want to have dedicated workforce, you have to think about these things. And this is reminding me of the pointer you guys made about mental well-being. All of this is linked with that, so please reflect on that. Yeah, please look this up. So on, when you will look at the website, I have posted some videos. I could show them right now also, but please look at them in your own time, because there are two other things which I would want to talk about. So let's talk about that. Uh, some concepts are there which I would want you to do some self study on. So it's chapter number 13, chapter number 14. Do some self study on these chapters and try to link it with the past discussions which we have been having. But let's see what they are about. So one topic is aggregate planning. So look at this. Aggregate planning is the process of developing, analyzing and maintaining a preliminary approximate schedule of the overall operations of the organization. So what are the overall operations of the organization? You would want to know that, and for those overall operations you make a approximate schedule, not 100%, an approximation forecasting type of thing, where you make developments, where you develop, where you analyze and maintain this schedule. So this is an ongoing process. This is not something which you just do it one time. You keep on improving it. You keep on developing. You keep on analyzing your needs, uh, and then you make an approximate schedule. What would be the overall operational need of the organization? So, for example, in times like these pandemic, companies have already made their aggregate planning and forecasting, as we were discussing in the forecasting section. But that is where this thing comes: analyzing and maintaining and keep on developing. Yeah, so you keep on analyzing what is happening new in the market and how it can impact your overall planning. Aggregate planning is, generally speaking, overall planning, how you want to run your operations, and all the various topics which we have been talking about: forecasting, location, design. Even today's session, all of those are linked with scheduling and aggregate planning, if you think about that. So you use all of that and look at what is happening in the current environment, and you keep on updating your planning. Many times these are softwares which where you are just giving some inputs, and they are giving you some information on that. So what are those inputs? You can run some search on this. uh, I would like to look at this. For example, aggregate planning has certain pre-required inputs which are inevitable. Pre-required inputs. So if you want to do aggregate planning, there are some pre-required inputs. What are those? Information about the resources and facilities available. Resources and facilities. For example, location, facilities. Resources, for example, not just tangible resources, but intangible resources. For example, uh, I don't want to go in detail. Please link it with previous discussions in your own time and try to understand what are the resources. For example, one interesting pointer, which is so. For example, some of the pre-required inputs which would be required are, for example, resources. So as I am thinking about resources, I'm thinking about, for example, capabilities. Some of you mentioned in the in the earlier in the earlier discussion, some other day they were talking about capabilities of the organization. So not just tangible resources, but intangible resources also. Try to think about the forecast discussion we had, how that is linked with planning and aggregate planning. Try to think about cost of various alternatives and resources. That would be very important as you do aggregate planning. In other words, if you are doing overall planning of your project, overall planning of your business, you want to know whatever you are manufacturing, what are the different alternatives in terms of raw material, uh, what are uh, what are the costs, how you are going to source them. All the issues in supply chain management, they are relevant and you would want to think about it. For example, they are talking about holding inventory cost, ordering cost, cost to order, cost of production, and so on. Yeah, so please look into this. I wanted to show you some story on this. For example, look at this one. Despite uncertainty over COVID-19, Wolves planning for next season. So this is a franchise, sports related. So they are planning for the next season. Yeah. So all different type of businesses, they are doing some type of planning that post coronavirus, post pandemic, how they are going to come back into their full flow. So I selected this story, but there are almost any good business they are planning. right now. So in that, they are looking at their resources, they are looking at their capabilities, they are looking at changing trends. For example, job design, what would be the changing trends of job design that will have some impact on consumer preference, how consumers would prefer, uh, and based on the preference of consumers, companies might have to tailor their offerings. So think about all those things, and also the discussions we had about automation in terms of banking industry, that came couple of times in our conversation, because naturally, because the banks in Jamaica, they are doing more and more automation, so maybe that is why it came. Look at this one. So aggregate planning and scheduling, those are things which are somehow linked. So look at this one: businesses scheduling, reopening preparations, coronavirus cleaning. Yeah, so many businesses are doing that, and I can show you some visuals. For example, this one. So post pandemic, companies are doing some things, and maybe these are something which will, they might want to continue after, even after a little bit, even after some time, uh, even after the pandemic is over, companies might want to still continue these type of activities for a certain amount of time. For example, you guys mentioned mental health being. So yes, they will be doing this during this pandemic, but chances are that good companies would want to continue it at least for a little bit more time, just to see that what are some of the benefits they can reap from this exercise. So please think about that also. So overall, company is looking at, what is their capacity, what are the resources the company has, and looking at those resources, companies deciding how they will plan. So as I was mentioning earlier, there will be some uh, softwares which companies would be using. For example, any business which would have a lot of people coming in, uh, or people in critical needs, the importance of aggregate planning becomes a little bit more in those situations. For example, restaurants, hospitals, airline industry, that is a very good example to think about. And you can link it with the earlier story I showed you, that Boeing let go of, or will let go of, lay off 16,000 people, something like that. Why they are doing that? They are doing that because it shows in their aggregate planning, in their overall planning, that they won't be able to sustain well if they don't let go people. So based on their overall planning, they decide to let go people. So think about that. Let's look at this one. The objective of aggregate planning is to meet forecasted demand while minimizing cost over a period of uh, time, over the planning period, or over a period of time. So there are three things. One is forecasted demand. Yeah, and from our forecast discussion, you guys should be able to recall that forecast is a forecast. We don't 100% know what would happen in the future, so we have to keep that in mind also in overall planning. So this is number one, forecasted demand. Then number two is minimizing the cost. Again, that is, we say that all the time, that businesses are not charity. They want to maximize from their uh, resources, allocated resources, so they want to minimize the cost. And the third point is over a period of time, or over the planning period. So these are the three things which overall planning or scheduling is all about. So in that, think about the discussions which we have been having. uh, Overtime, is overtime needed? How many workers should be giving overtime? Are we better off to subcontract the job, or we should have our own workers who are doing the jobs? So if you are better off in subcontracting, hiring someone else to do the job, you do that. Uh, Many jobs you can think about. Again, it is linked with job design. So think about that. How you want to design your jobs? Do you want to have your own people working on it, or you want to ask someone else? And again, this thing, subcontracting or not contract subcontracting or otherwise, would have a ripple effect on other things. For example, production level, production rates. If you are doing on your own, and you have limited production facility, and you have limited inventory, limited warehouse space, then maybe you cannot expand your businesses at the level where maybe it is required. Think about, these things like masks. Companies, a lot of companies are making masks, making other things related with COVID-19. uh, so how they were able to do that? Maybe they were in some other business earlier, but they changed the design of the jobs and used the same people who are doing something else earlier, and now they are, for example, manufacturing, making masks, or making the clothes, protective gear, something like that. So all that is linked with overall planning, job design, how you look at inventory, how much space you have. That is what it is about. You can look at this, for example, capacity and capability. That is very important topic in production and operations management. What is your capacity and what is your capability? Uh, you might have big dreams and other things in your strategic objectives, but do you have the capacity? Have you prepared your people to meet the forecasted demand in the future? And rethink the example I gave you. People who are laid off, put them in the learning environment where they will be learning the skills which would be required in next 3 to 5 years. That is how you are developing the capacity, capability of the workforce. But if you don't do that, when the time will come, you won't have those capabilities, and then you might have to hire people from other countries, and then over the period of time, uh, many things will happen. For example, over presence of Indians in Jamaica, or over presence of Chinese in Jamaica. Yes, there are positives when people from other countries come and start living or working in our country, but then of course there are some disadvantages of that also. Um, so think about those things. So at least the skills which local population can learn, which they can. Very few skills are there which maybe are so specialized that we don't have the environment or the infrastructure to teach those skills. But generally speaking, these skills can be learned if government decides that, and focuses on the programs like 2030 and those type of things. Uh, Please think on that. For the future, overall planning for the future, post pandemic. What are some of the things your business is doing? Anything you can say on that? Please go ahead. So please give us some insight. What are some of the things companies are doing or should do when they are doing overall planning? Please go ahead.
From home right now, or CEO is saying, "Why am I paying you traveling when you're working from home?" So now, of course, that's something that he's looking to cut. So person's salary would be less because he's not paying you traveling anymore, and because obviously it's working, meaning that he's getting a lot out of persons now working from home. Then it's something that he's thinking about letting be a norm. So all persons that are currently at home working, he's thinking about, okay, maybe this is the way forward. And on the production side of things, where I am, where the containers are, that put us in teams. And so now our working hours are longer, but we're working 3 days for the week, like some 18 hours shift, like long shift. So you find that because it is working, the job is being done. So of course they're thinking about all of some of these things becoming the norm for the workplace. So whatever is working from the pandemic, whatever changes that they have made during this time, and it's working, it's saving them money, then of course it's going to be something that they look into to be the norm moving forward.
Thanks very much for this insight and the real life work experience in terms of planning. Very good. So this point, as our friend is mentioning, we should reflect on this. I would just want to briefly talk about one part which she mentioned. So earlier, maybe workers were getting some travel allowance, but then now they are working from home. So companies saying, why should we pay you travel allowance? Yeah, so this can be very tricky situation in the planning phase for the company. So if you were the operation manager, if you were the plant manager, if you were the one who are deciding, what would you do in this situation? So you need to think on in your own time about answering this question. So yes, it is true, you are traveling before, but now you are not traveling, so why should a business give you allowance? So but if you were a plant manager, would you not give them, would you stop giving them the allowance, or you would continue giving them the allowance, looking that they are working, maybe they are working more hours because of working from home, or there are other challenges they are going through. On the other hand, there is nothing wrong if you stop the travel allowance per se in terms of law. If you are talking about law, there is nothing wrong, because you can argue that they are not traveling and so on. But then what would be the impact on 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 worker and the relationship with the company if you plan like this is very important and interesting thing to reflect on. So please, in your own time, try to answer these type of things. Another thing which I would want to talk about in today's session is material requirement planning. Yeah, so as you do your overall planning, as you design your job, as you think about your location, all these things which we have been talking throughout the semester, you would want to think about that what is the requirement of different materials in various phases of planning. Just like during the pandemic, people are shopping, people are doing grocery, so they are doing some type of material requirements planning. So maybe some of us can get in the panic mode, although Honorable Prime Minister has told us very clearly he has told us that there is no need of buying in bulk, so much bulk, there is no need. He has made it very clear that he has no plans to shut off the markets like that we won't have access to buying groceries for a longer period of time and so on. So he has made that very clear. But still, and not just our prime minister, honorable prime minister, people around the globe, administration around the globe, prime ministers, presidents, they have told the people that we don't plan to shut down in a way that you won't be able to buy your groceries or something like that. You will be able to buy those, but just it would be just with some restriction, social distancing, masks, and so on. Some times would be allocated. Maybe some countries are allocating times in terms of Mondays for men, and Wednesday is for women to come out and so on. I think Panama is doing something like that. You can look at that. But look at what people are doing. People are not following that. When they go for grocery, they would do bulk buying and so on. So why they are doing that? Because they feel that anything can happen. They don't have maybe 100% trust in the government, and they don't want to be in a situation where they are short of some supplies. So yes, they are doing that. What that can do? That can do many harm for the society, because other people who really need something, if I go to the market and there are 10 products, I get all 10 of them. uh, when you go for that product, You won't be able to get even one because I took all of them. So that can be a big challenge, especially in the supply chain, because for the market to bring more supplies of that product, it will take some time. Same way, companies do their material requirement planning, looking at what can happen going forward. Uh, is the price of the material going to go up uh, based on the warehouse inventory storage they have, based on their forecast demand of from the consumer, from the customer? They also make a material requirement planning. uh, say how much of a material they would require when. This is also linked with material management, which is not per se the part of this course, but in the consecutive courses, for example, productivity and quality management, we talk about material management. So this is linked with that also. But let's look at it. What it is this? What is this? It is a system for calculating the materials and components needed to manufacture a product. It's simple thing. You calculate the materials and components which are needed to manufacturing any product. So whatever product you are making, you break it down, you understand what are different materials, components used in it, and then you plan for that. You understand the costing, you understand which country, which place you are going to bring those, you understand how ethical those businesses are, you understand uh, uh, are those people going to deliver the products on time. You try to understand, do you have to have only one supplier or you have to have multiple suppliers for that. uh, Try to think about the examples which our friends have been giving in our face-to-face interactions also, especially in the context when they were giving their own work examples, how they manage different type of supplies. One friend was talking about simple items like stationery. One friend was talking about Appleton State. One friend was talking about, I remember, banana chips and the material requirement for that. And you were talking about Saint Mary banana chips, and you were talking that uh, not all banana are from Jamaica, and so on. So please reflect on those discussions which we already have been having. Uh, and in your own time, you are going to read these chapters. Some terminologies are there in the chapter, so please don't be fearful of those terminologies. For example, uh, bill of material. Try to understand what it is. Just run a Google search, you will understand what it is. Essentially, it is just a note, a bill, where you show what different materials would be required to make one finished product. So for example, your end product is a cake, so you would try to make a bill of material. In other words, you would try to understand what are some of the components which are used to make that cake: sugar, flour, coloring, so on, whatever you need, raisins, whatever you are going to put in the cake, and how much of the quantity. So not just the name of the component, but how much of the quantity you would write in that. And if you are producing something on the factory, you would also include that how often you would need it, when you will need it, where you will need it. All of that is part of uh, work material planning, aggregate planning, overall planning. And same way you will design the jobs around how you overall plan your business, looking at these things. Some terminologies are there, for example, MRP, ERP. If you are not familiar with them, please run a Google search and try to understand what those are. A lot of things which we mentioned in our forecasting session when we were meeting in person, they are linked with this. For example, MPS. What is MPS? It is master production schedule. What is a master production schedule? You might want to think about it. So there is a production schedule, in which you tell that what you would be producing on a given day, in a given week. But in the master production schedule, you maybe want to know what would be produced in a month or in a quarter, and you include all of your various products. So you have a plant, you make in the plant, you make t-shirt, you make jeans, you make shoes, you make different products. The production period or production frequency or the information about the production, all the information for all these 3 4 different products for the next quarter is going to make up master production schedule. It is just like the timetable you have um, for your courses. If you are given for the next year, that would be the master schedule, timetable schedule for you guys. Look into that. Best thing would be that at your workplace, try to ask them for a master production schedule. Specifically, if you are working in some factory or where they do some manufacturing or producing it, it could be interesting. Alternatively, you just run a Google search, and in the field where you are interested, try to look at how they make their master production schedules. Very simple, basic things. Okay, these are some things which I would like you to look at in your own time. Uh, some terminologies they are making, for example, make to order, for example, assemble to order, for example, stock to forecast. These are important for you to uh, run some search and try to understand what are those. Would be good to have some example. What are some of the products which are in Jamaica, which they make to order, yeah, or internationally speaking. You can think about that in your own time. Bill of material, for example, they have explained here. Uh, Other terms like lead times, uh, you know you can think about that in your own time. These are not difficult terminologies, so I don't want to spend time on these. Yeah, this is a rough sketch for how MRP structure is. On the left side, you are looking at data files. So different information is coming from uh, various departments in in the business. For example, bill of material. For example, lead times. How much time it takes to arrive. For example, inventory data, purchasing data. This is the information, raw information. And what are the end reports you want? For example, you want an overall aggregate planning report and other things. So this is the system software. You will just put in uh, the files coming from different departments. Of course, they need to be in a proper format so the software can read them. But once you put in the information, it automatically generates uh, the reports which you would want to interpret. A lot of, it's all about interpreting the charts and diagrams. A lot of charts are being generated for these type of mechanisms. And as a plant manager, you would, when you go to your in the morning, when you go on your table, you would see a lot of charts which would be there, and from there you would be looking at them and making decisions for the day or the week. Other terms like safety stock, I remember we discussed it in one of the classes when we were meeting. Just in time, we have discussed that. We will discuss it more because that is one chapter in one of the sessions. We will discuss just in time a little bit more. This is interesting. There are some advantages and disadvantages. As we mentioned earlier, there are always some limitations of anything which you are doing. So try to have a hang of what are some of the advantages, what are some of the disadvantages of various things which I have asked you to read in your own time, and the ones we discussed in our session also. Uh, but of course, don't just look at the slides. That is not important. Important is to read the chapter in your own time, and then try to figure out some of the examples from our daily lives. So for example, aggregate planning, overall planning, how that is being affected during the times of pandemic. What are some of the precautions different companies are taking? You want to think about that. So I've written here self study, issues in aggregate scheduling and planning, and same for material requirement planning. I've made a note self study. You need to read these chapters in your own time. Material requirement planning, for example, how these times are going to change how we do our material requirement planning. I gave you this example. This was a simple example but very important for requirement planning, where honorable prime minister comes and tells us that no need of bulk buying and so on. Just buy for the week or so, or 2 weeks maximum, and then you can go back. Don't buy for the next 6 months and so on, because you are going to disrupt the supply chain if you do it, and other people who are in need, they will be in trouble. And it is not just about developing countries. Even in developed countries, for example, I was looking at uh, a clip which is being circulated in the social media. I'm sure you might have crossed it. There was a nurse, uh, essential worker, nurse in a hospital in UK, and she was sitting in her car and she was crying, and she was saying that you people did not leave even a little food in the market. I have been working for the last 2 days or something like that, and now I went to grocery store to get a grab of something, and there is nothing at all. You guys took everything. So please leave something for us, because I cannot go home and cook because I have been up for this much time, and maybe there is nothing at home because she was essential worker and busy working in the hospital. So these type of stories are circulating. So what I would want you guys really is that think about these topics: aggregate planning and material requirement planning, and try to think of some solutions going forward, that when in the times of pandemic, what are some of the things which can be done, so that people follow the instructions regarding aggregate planning, or regarding material requirement planning, or regarding enterprise resource planning. Uh, these are things to really think about and reflect. So please do something on that. Some clips I have posted on the website. You can watch them if you are interested. But if you are interested in some other industries, uh, I have here, for example, hospital. I have here, for example, some factory. I have here, for example, some fast food example. But depending on your interest, it is not important that you follow these clip 100%. You just need to find some clips in on these topics which you are interested in, and you can think about that. Uh, in closing, I would want to close with this, before I take some feedback with you. Look at this. Look at this one. Factories that used to make perfume and t-shirts and cars, uh, they are now making supplies to fight the coronavirus. Yeah. So this is very interesting example for enterprise resource planning. What is enterprise resource planning? It is that all the resources which the enterprise, which business has, they want to utilize them in the way that they are less costly, and they can make most out of those the input of their resources. That is what enterprise resource planning is essentially about. And look at this, how beautiful this is. So companies which were making perfumes, that is a totally different industry to make perfume. Then a company which is making t-shirts, clothing. Then a company which is making cars. Of course, they would have some type of material requirement planning done for their businesses. They might have done some type of overall scheduling, overall planning for their business, and they are trying to follow that. But in these times, what they have changed all of that and are now making supplies to fight the coronavirus. Yeah, look at this. This is a nice example. So they were doing other things, but based on their, so in their system, what are the things they had which enabled them to switch or to move? What type of people are working? What type of leadership available to them so that they could easily switch to this? And then maybe reflect on developing countries like ours. Uh, do we have such examples? Yes, we do. Some companies which were not in making sanitizer business, they switched and they came into sanitizer business and so on. So same way, I would like to conclude with the thought that our hospitality industry, people are laid off and so on. How we can do the transition, do the switch, so um, we can maximize from our resources and not just get fixed with the overall planning which we had already done before this pandemic. Yes. So please give us some concluding thoughts, at least one or two, and then I have to say a couple of things. Please give some concluding thoughts on this, what we have been, anything you want to talk about in terms of job design, in terms of overall planning, in terms of material requirement planning, in terms of resource planning of the enterprise. Anything you want to add to the discussion, I would be very thankful if one or two people can say something, and then we're going to make some other comments. Please go ahead. Yes, yes, Michelle, we are hearing you. Please go ahead.
For job planning in terms of technology, it is something that the companies always have to keep in mind in terms of forward thinking, forward planning. Because say in the coronavirus, you had companies that the technology was there, but their employees were attached to a desktop. So some companies actually had to physically move the desktop to their employees' homes. Some companies had to incur additional cost because they had to purchase laptops to give their employees so they could work from home. For, as you were speaking about job design and planning, that is something that the company has to bear in mind, because even the young lady that brought up the case of her manager paid traveling and is now considering to take it back, that could lead to staff being demotivated. What the company could look at is, instead of doing that, is to leave the allowance to assist with the electricity in cost that would be increased on their employees.
Yes, thanks very much for both the pointers, and definitely, these are some things which we should keep in mind as we are talking about overall planning, as we are talking about material requirement planning, overall job design, forecasting, as we are talking about location decisions, various things in the supply chain management. Came in today's discussion, so it can be linked. One thing which I want to maybe conclude on, which Michelle mentioned, is she mentioned forward thinking. Yeah, that is one word which I did not use, or we did not use in today's discussion. So we used other words, but I think that is a very beautiful word to use. Forward thinking, some type of forward thinking. If that is there, then these type of challenges which we are talking about, or which companies are facing in terms of overall plan,